I, Shreyansh Rathore, welcome you all on this auspicious occasion of our Constitution Day. A very cheerful evening to Honorable Principal Ma'am, respected Vice Principal Sir, beloved teachers, and my dear friends. Today we have gathered here to celebrate our Constitution Day. As today we come together, be the cause for the unity, make it yet another beautiful day, spur the flag of one nation, one vision, one identity, one flag, my incredible India. It's because our Constitution gave us faith, freedom, peace, and pride.
Constitution Day, also known as Samvidhan Divas, is celebrated in India on 26th November every year to commemorate the adoption of Constitution of India. On 26 December 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India and it came into effect on 26 January 1950. With this, I, Arman, welcome you all in today's event, and our topic for today, fundamental duties and fundamental rights are two sides of the same coin.
So starting with our program, I would like to invite respected Vice Principal Sir to enlighten us with his words of wisdom.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Getting time to talk to each other and see the privileged day. Today we are talking on a very remarkable day. November 26th is a landmark day for India. Why so? On this day, 1949, the Constitution of India was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. And then on 26 January 1950, it came into force. That's what we celebrate as Republic Day. The Constitution is the soul of the democracy. It declares India a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, liberty of thought, expression, faith, the right to worship, the right of equality of status, opportunities, and to promote the fraternity for the individuals and to preserve the unity and integrity of the nation. So Constitution Day, as the way Arman said, Samvidhan Divas, we must remember the architect of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Something remarkable done by him. Let me quote one of his inspirational quotes, which I always like. However good a constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are not good, it will prove to be bad. However bad a constitution may be, if those implementing it are good, it will prove to be good. So implementing means what? Are we talking about the government? Are we talking about the officials? Maybe a portion, a fraction is there, but we are the people who are bringing it down on the ground. Everybody should have the basic idea, or let me tell you very frankly, as the way we read our religious books, Gita, Quran, Vedas, Bible, and so on. So something like that, the importance should be given to the Constitution also. We should be aware what is there in Constitution, how the Constitution is acting as the framework or the main structure of Indian democracy. It's not only about the articles and the laws. We have to understand the soul and the main concept behind it. Then only we can preserve the basic nature of Indian democracy. It's you, it's me, it's everyone. So the Constitution Day is to remind you about the importance of that. Without the Constitution, the main framework of the country will get disrupted, distorted. So it's always about preserving the Constitution. Thankful that we are having this particular day. I hope all the class teachers must have read the preamble to you. What about preamble? Just like a book begins with a preface, same way the Constitution begins with a preamble. It embodies the source of Constitution. And the source of Constitution is the people of India. We are the source of the Constitution. The terms highlighted are sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic, which suggest the nature of the country. That's what we are. We are republic, we are democratic, we are secular, and we are socialist. The ideals of justice, liberty, equal fraternity reflects the main objectives. That's our goal. So the philosophy of Indian Constitution is reflected in the entire preamble. Just a page, but the entire Constitution is hidden in it. The independence of India earned through the struggle of such a mammoth fight is sought to be emphasized by the use of word sovereign in the preamble. Each and every term is having a special meaning. So we should abide by it, and we should also respect to it. We have to understand that, okay, this is not about a single day. It's all about a moment. The moments which we have every day. Every day we have to feel how important Constitution is. Are we doing something which is affecting the Constitution? Are we doing something which is going against? We have to see all around also. And we have to take a pledge that as individuals, we are going to maintain the preamble, maintain the things guided through the Constitution. So it's a very important day, and expect all the young Bishop Scotians will take a pledge within to preserve it each and every day. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day. I request the comparers to continue with their program.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wise words.
So, without talking much of your time, I would like to invite Ravinder sir to brief us about our Indian Constitution.
Actually, you all know that the Constitution of India was adopted on the day of 26th of Jan 1950. But you know that in 1946, 3 persons had visited in India as a member of cabinet mission. They have given the chance to work out on them, and Sir Patrick Lawrence was the chairman of the Constituent Assembly, was the cabinet mission, Sir Stafford Cripps and P.V. Alexander. They have met so many leaders of India who were nationalists, especially Bhimrao Ambedkar, Pandit Nehru, and Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. These persons were the stalwarts for framing the Constitution of India. At the same time, it was in the mind of the nationalist leaders how we are going to constitute the Constitution of India. So they have taken solutions from USA, UK, Canada, Australia, USSR, and different solutions came as a judgment for the directions, for the guidelines, for the rules and regulations, for the implementing the situations what were possible at that very time. We have made a tremendous struggle before that. 15th of August 1947 was the day when we celebrate, when we have occupied our power from the rest of the Britishers after many years of trial and endeavor. But we should try to understand that Constitution is not merely the rules and regulations. It is the essence of the country, without which we are not going to make progress in any of the field. And especially the fundamental rights is called the soul of the Indian Constitution. And in fundamental rights, Article 32, the constitutional remedies is called the soul of the fundamental Indian Constitution. So considering all these things, if we try to acquire that, we have taken 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. And out of that, the total working days were 114. But after the concluding day, when the Constitution was going to be adopted, enacted on 26th of November 1949, a very stalwart of our country has dedicated with these very lines, and whose name was ex-President Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, and miles to go before I sleep, and again, let us not the future generation say that we have lost the sweet bread of our freedom because we are going to undigest it. So it is my humble request to each and every citizen of India, especially the students of my school, because we are under the banner of a good persons, good personalities like our VP sir, like Principal ma'am, like our school coordinator and the director, who are taking place, who are doing good job, not only for us, but also for us, also for the future generations, because of the Constitution of India, which is already available to us. So I would like to conclude with the words, सबके हृदय में सर्वथा संवेदना की राहो, हमें तुम्हारी चाहो, तुम्हें हमारी चाहो, on this very day, on the 26th of November 1949 and on the 26th of November 2020. Have a nice day to all of you. A warm welcome to you by my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Now I would like to invite Swati ma'am to brief us about our fundamental rights.
Thank you, Shreyansh. Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights is a charter of rights contained in the Constitution of India. It guarantees civil liberties such that all Indians can lead their lives in peace and harmony as citizens of India. These include individual rights common to most liberal democracies such as equality before law, freedom of speech and expression, and peaceful assembly, freedom to practice religion, and the right to constitutional remedies for the protection of civil rights by means of writs such as habeas corpus. Violation of these rights results in punishment as prescribed in the Indian Penal Code or the other special laws subject to discretion of the judiciary. These rights universally apply to all citizens irrespective of race, place of birth, religion, caste, and gender. The rights have their origins in many sources, including England's Bill of Rights, the United States Bill of Rights, and France's Declaration of the Rights of Man. Article 14 to 18 of the Constitution deals with the right to equality. Right to equality means that everyone is equal before the law without any discrimination on any basis like color, caste, religion, creed, etc. Article 19 to 22 deals with the right to freedom. Article 23 and 24 deals with the right against exploitation. This seeks to ban traffic in human beings. Article 25 to 28 deals with right to freedom of religion. It means everybody is free to follow any religion of their choice. Article 29 and 30 deals with cultural and educational rights. The Constitution provides that a minority shall have the right to conserve its own language, script, literature, and culture. It consists of Article 29 and 30. Article 32, as said by Sir, is the soul of the fundamental rights. It's called right to constitutional remedies. The Supreme Court is empowered to issue directions or orders or writs, including writs in the nature of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, and certiorari, whichever is considered an appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now, I would like to call Jitendra sir to explain us about our fundamental duties.
Thank you very much, Aman. Good afternoon to everyone. My warm wishes to everybody in this webinar on this auspicious day of Constitution Day. What Constitution matters to an Indian? I think ma'am and sir both have many outstandingly explained about all those things. One thing I would like to say about Constitution before I put my words about fundamental duty. Constitutions are more than a rule book. It is said by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar that this Constitution must not be taken as a rule book. It is much, much, much more than a rule book. And if we see, if I say, or if any Indian say that it is the soul of India, India's heritage, India's culture, India's versatility, India's diversity, so it would not be wrong. So Constitution is actually the base of this country. Now, I have to say a few words about fundamental duties. As the topic of the day, that fundamental rights and the fundamental duties are the two sides of a same coin. It's absolutely relevant. It's absolutely correct, because rights and the duties both are moving hand in hand. Without responsibilities, without duties, rights cannot be justified. But what happened when the Constitution of India was adopted by the Constituent Assembly? It was noising in many corners that why can't we have fundamental duties kind of thing should be in a part of our Constitution. But many scholars and experts, they put their explanation, they put their views that India is a country. It has been under colonial era since many centuries, and the people of India are deprived people. They are not well educated. They are poor people. They are still struggling with the basic necessity of the life. So it would be very difficult for them, and it would be harsh to impose fundamental duties kind of thing for them. So that's why with unanimity, it was decided that fundamental duties must not be the part of Indian Constitution. And that's why only the fundamental rights was there, Article 12 to Article 35, as ma'am explained outstandingly. But something happened, some political sociological situation happened between the year 1971 to 1974-75, because Indira Gandhi, she came in the power in 1971 election with huge majority, but due to some bad, I would not say bad, due to some malpractices and maybe some not good policies by the government, and some contemporary situation like the drought condition by 3 consecutive years and the war with the Pakistan. The economic situation was India was lowest on that time. And for all those things, government was not responsible for everything, but the contemporary leaders and opposition parties, they called for a mass movement, especially led by Jayaprakash Narayan and Ram Manohar Lohiya and all those. And it was everybody against Indira Gandhi government. And because of that, it was complete uproar in this country. So she was bound to declare national emergency. And in the national emergency, it was she realized that the people of India who are known for their calm, composed character, they become so aggressive, and they are not respecting public properties and the nation's tranquility. So that's why she, when the national emergency was revoked, she decided that we need to have a part in our constitution with the name of fundamental duties. And that's why she called her defense minister, agriculture minister, Sardar Swaran Singh, to constitute a committee and give some recommendations about addition of fundamental duties. And as per the recommendation given by Sardar Swaran Singh committee, the government of India, the parliament, they under the 42nd Amendment Act 1976, the fundamental duties with 10 duties was added to the Constitution of India. Earlier, it was a matter of debate that whether fundamental duties should be justiciable or non-justiciable. But again, there was an opposition party led by Janata Party and Morarji Desai. They were saying that fundamental duties must not be the part of our Constitution, and if it is there, it must not be. It should be non-justiciable. But ultimately, it was decided, and the fundamental duties added to our Constitution as Article 51A in Part 4A. It is the list of, you can say it as the 10 duties were there. As I mentioned, all these duties are non-justiciable, fine, and all these duties were like a moral responsibility, like civic duties. I would like to quote few, likewise, like to respect the institutions and the national flag and national anthem of the India. We need to take inspiration. We need to inspire from our national struggle and our national freedom fighters. We need to respect and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. We need to protect and preserve the rich heritage of our country. We need to protect our environment in terms of forests, lakes, and water resources, and whatever we need to develop some scientific temper humanism, the spirit of... It was Atal Bihari Vajpayee government in the year 2002. And because we all know that Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he was the man behind Soc Sci Abhiyan. And he was so determined that he has to incorporate the the early childhood education to the kids of India, and that's why under 86th Amendment Act in the year 2002, he incorporated 11th fundamental duties, and that was that it is the kind responsibility of the parents who they need to send to their ward age of 6 to 14 years to the school, and for the compulsory education, we know that, because as we know that the Article 21A itself says that the 6 to 14 years of student, the child of 6 to 14 years, they have a fundamental right of compulsory education. So in the same line, he added a fundamental duty to the parents of those wards, those kids. So it is their kind responsibility to send their kids to the school, so that India will be a country of educated people, and the literacy rate of India must increase as high as possible. So that is about the fundamental duties. As I mentioned you, fundamental duties are non-justiciable in the nature. If any citizen of India is not abiding by these fundamental duties, no one can drag him or her to the court. It is just like it's just like to develop a sense, a feeling that if we are Indian, so it is our moral responsibility, kind responsibility, and it is our firm responsibility to abide by all these 11 duties, although it is non-justiciable in the nature. So it is the wisdom of Indian, it is the wise character of the Indian, whether they are actually feeling these duties to be followed or not. It's we all know that how much serious we are about fundamental duties, but on the day of Constitution, adoption of Constitution, I wish everyone, whether it is a student, whether it is a aged person, whatever we need to see the lines of these fundamental duties, and we need to feel that these duties are as important as any part of this Constitution, as important as fundamental duties. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Now, beginning with our students group, I would like to call Prithviraj of Standard 11th A to share his views about today's topic.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Constitution Day, also known as National Law Day, is celebrated in India on 26/11 every year to immortalize the adoption of Constitution of India. On 26 November 1949, the 25-parted Indian Constitution, also known as the Bag of Borrowing, was adopted by Constituent Assembly, and it came into effect from 26 Jan next year. Now approaching the topic, that is fundamental rights and duties are two sides of the same coin. That is, they both always go together. They are so closely related and one cannot be separated from the other. If the state gives the right of life to a citizen, then it also gives a duty to that citizen to not to expose his life to danger and to respect the life of others. Secondly, right of one is the duty of other. Rights can only be enjoyed in the world of duties. For every right, there is a corresponding duty. When the people fail to fulfill their duties, all the rights given to the citizens become meaningless. Also, rights are to be used for social good. Rights originate in the society. Therefore, while enjoying our rights, we must always try to promote social interest. It is the duty of every one of us to use our rights for promoting the welfare of society as a whole. Also to mention that right of a citizen also implies duty for him. Rights aren't monopoly of a single individual. Everybody gets these equally, so while enjoying my right, it's my own duty to see others also enjoy it. And finally, duty towards the state. Since state protects and enforces rights, it also becomes a duty of all citizens to be loyal to the state. So clearly from every case, we can see and conclude that every citizen has rights and performs his duties, and thus rights and duties are the two sides of the same coin. Thank you. Have a glorious day.
Thank you, Kriti.
Now, I would like to call Zad Ahmed of Standard 11th A to speak a few words on today's topic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are here to commemorate the adoption of Indian Constitution. On 26th of November 1949, the Constitutional Assembly of the India adopted the Constitution of India, and it came into effect on 26th of January 1950. The Government of India declared 26th November as Constitution Day, also known as Samvidhan Divas. The Constitution declares India a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, assuring its citizens justice, equality, and liberty, and endeavors to promote fraternity. Speaking on the topic, fundamental duties and fundamental rights are the two sides of the same coin. Rights and duties are closely related and cannot be separated from one another. If the state gives right to life to a citizen, it also imposes an obligation on him to not to expose his life to dangers as well as to respect the life of others. If I have a right to work and earn, it is also my duty to recognize the same rights of others. It is the duty of every one of us to use our rights to promote the welfare of the society as a whole. Since the Constitution protects and enforces fundamental rights, it also becomes the duty of all citizens to be loyal to the nation and to obey the laws of the nation. Rights are not the monopoly of a single individual. Everybody these gets equally. This means that others also have the same right which I have, and it is my duty to see that others also enjoy their rights. Arnold Lasky has rightly said that one man's right is also his duty. It is my duty to respect the rights of others as well as the duty to use my rights in the interest of society. Hence, fundamental duties and fundamental rights are the two sides of the same coin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Zad.
Now I would like to call Ujjwal Roshan of Standard 11C to speak on today's topic.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ujjwal Roshan of class 11C, and I am going to express my views on the topic, the National Constitution Day. The National Constitution is starting with the burning topic, what's Constitution? The Constitution of India, which is the supreme law on which all of our functions and all of the functioning of our democratic government is based upon. The Indian Constitution, which is the one of the longest constitution of the world with 470 articles and 12 schedules in the Constitution, and having 104 amendments. It was first handed and the most important thing in the Constitution is how efficiently the ideas and the principles were put forth by our Constituent Assembly leaders. So starting with who have drafted our Constitution. The Constitution was drafted by our Constituent Assembly, which included the many of the prominent leaders of that time of India, including the B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of drafting committee, Sardar Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, who were the president of the Constituent Assembly. They all worked on this document with all their potential, and that's why we are having this relevant document which are capable of settling the issues of the past, present, and will remain in the future too. One of the four important things of the Constitution that we must consider before considering the topic are preamble, directive principle of state policy, fundamental rights, and fundamental duties. Without considering these, we can't imagine of the Constitution in reality. So first, starting with preamble. The preamble is the brief introductory statement that set out the guidelines which guide the people of the nation and to the present principle of the Constitution. Some of the key concepts we must remember before talking is of the Constitution are the sovereign. So what do you mean by the sovereign? The sovereign means we have an independent authority. That means India is not dependent on any nation for its decision. With socialist, that was the first term when it was adopted in the 42nd amendment of the constitution, and that have just evolved and that have evolved over the time. We have the equal distribution of the wealth. That is the totally clear example of the socialism. The secular, that means the relationship between the government and the religious group. In Hindi, it is also known as Panth Nipeksha. The democratic, that means the rule of the people, by the people and for the people. What is the meaning of republic? Head of the government is an elected body. We have justice, which means the rule of the law, the equal rights, the freedom and opportunity for all in the society. The liberty, freedom to do whatever we want within the constitutional limits, and the fraternity, the feeling of brotherhood. Then another important topic is the directive principle of state policy. It is contained in the provision stated under the Part 4 of Indian Constitution. These principles have been inspired from the directive principles of the Constitution of Ireland. The idea of such policy is derived from the Declaration of the Rights of the Man and the Citizen proclaimed by the revolutionary France and the Declaration of Independence by the American colonies. It was also mentioned in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, fundamental rights. Earlier, we have 7 fundamental rights. The right to equality, right to freedom of religion, right against exploitation, right to property, cultural and educational right to constitutional remedy. But however, right to property, which was excluded from the fundamental rights in the year 1976 through the 44th Amendment of the Indian Constitution. Then the last is the fundamental duty. We have only 10 fundamental duty, but after 1997, we have one more fundamental duty in our list. Now coming back to the topic, what the fundamental duties and fundamental rights are the two sides of a coin. The fundamental rights and fundamental duties are the two sides of a coin, as they can neither exist independently nor they could remain independently. They are both complementary to each other. We can't enjoy the fundamental right and fundamental without the fundamental duty. Both are needed in a society. If we want to live in a society which is totally meant to be a democratic, we must follow the fundamental duties as well. Suppose we have the right to freedom of life and personal liberty. It doesn't mean that we are going to indulge in any of the anti-social elements of the society, and we do not get any kind of punishment. We have the rights, but it is useless without the fundamental duties, and we should act as a dutiful citizen. We should not only ourselves work in a dutiful manner, but also encourage the others to work in the same. That's why I want to also state that one of the important philosopher of our Indian society, the Swami Vivekananda's quote. It was the devotion to duty is the highest form of worship to God. If we do not perform our duty correctly, then we do not require any special provision of rights. If we want to have a brilliancy of the system at large, then we must have to follow the duties of a good citizen. While the government commission work for the citizens' rights or duty, the fundamental duty remain crucial for the individual to ensure the effectiveness of a system of a large. We generally indulge in finding the loopholes in the rules so that it can fit the convenience. To achieve the national and local welfare and development, we must follow rights and duties simultaneously. Unless we follow duties, we can't imagine of the aims and objectives of the preamble. Preamble will not complete the aims of national. It's we people that we change the words of the preamble from a subject to a determinant. We need to follow it at home, workplace, or public place. We have the right to, I would like to suggest one example that we have the right to vote, but it is totally useless if we don't utilize it. We have the citizens' right to get the better roads, but if it is a useless thing if we are not paying the tax properly. So it's the citizen's right to get the basic healthcare facility, but it's the duty of the citizen to get vaccinated. The government will not come in the houses of everyone to vaccinate them. It's our duty to go to the healthcare facility and get vaccinated. We have the fundamental rights against the exploitation, and it's our duty to come forward if we are facing exploitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjwal.
Now, I would like to call Sahil Raj of Standard 11C to speak a few words.
Thank you, Arman. A very warm and delightful good afternoon to all and happy Constitution Day. I, Sahil Raj of Standard 11C, got a wonderful opportunity to sparkle you with my speech on the theme Fundamental Duties and Fundamental Rights are the two faces of the same coin on this virtual platform in the organized webinar during the COVID pandemic time. In every walks of the life, we come across different situations posed before us. Sometimes we get the key to unlock the troubles, and many times defeat embraces us and we get the chance to learn something new. In the same manner, sometimes we find our basic human rights are in danger and we start to fight for the truth and justice. The same initiative to safeguard the human rights is taken by the Indian Constitution to provide some charter of human rights which are essential for the intellectual, moral and spiritual development as well as for the existence of human beings. These are in the form of fundamental rights which is contained in part 3rd between Article 12 to 35 of the Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights are having more importance than any other legal rights. It cannot be divided or embraced by amending the Constitution itself. It is interesting to note that fundamental rights was there since the adoption of this very Constitution on 26 November 1949. It was later realized through the recommendation of the Soc Sci committee that was consulted by the government. The committee suggested that individual did not overlook his duties while in exercise of the fundamental rights. By way of the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, a new chapter 4A which consists of only one article, that is 51A, was added, which dealt with a code of 10 fundamental duties for citizens. Fundamental duties are intended to serve as a constant reminder to every citizen that while the Constitution specifically conferred on them certain fundamental rights, citizens do not exist in a vacuum. When we grow up, we start getting duties. These duties give us power over ourselves, our lives, even over other people. Often these duties look just like rights. We have a right to drive, to carry out our works and to walk free. But we break those duties and our rights will have to be taken away. Somehow it is not the government that makes and upholds their rules, but people just like us, which think about these duties. However, our fundamental duties are non-justiciable, but as a responsible citizen of a nation, we ought to involve it in our life to serve the nation towards building its integrity. We need to realize that during professing and propagating the fundamental rights, we should not deny practicing our fundamental duties to this nation. Like we come across many situations in our life that it is the sole right to do any job, but in the wake of earning more money, some industries, what they do, they employ the children below the age of 14 years where they are not obedient to the fundamental duties. We have the right to freedom of speech and expression as long as we don't try to damage other people with our speech. Third, sometimes while traveling in the public transport, we damage the public property by breaking and stealing it. Whenever we visit any historical heritage site, we litter up the garbages all around, which damages the natural environment, including rivers, streams, and lakes, etc. At time of showing protest against any government law, people sometimes become very rigid and violent, which leads to harm our unity and integrity of the nation. At last, I want to conclude by saying, always remember this, rights and duties must always be in a balance. Duties without rights is slavery, and rights without duty is tyranny. Thanks a lot and wishing you once again happy Law Day to all.
Thank you, Sahil.
Now I would like to invite Aman Raj of Standard 9 to speak on today's topic.
Good morning to one and all present here. Today, I, Aman Raj of class 9th, I got a golden opportunity to say some lines on the topic fundamental rights and fundamental duties are two sides of the same coin. Rights and duties always go together. Rights and duties are closely related and cannot be separated from each other. Both go side by side. There are two kinds of same coin. If the state gives the right to the life to a citizen, it also imposes an obligation on him to not to expose his life to dangers, as well as to respect the life of others. If I have a right to work and learn, it is also my duty to recognize the same rights of others. Rights of citizens also implies duties for him. Rights are not the monopoly of single individual. Everybody gets the equally. This means that others also have the same rights which I have, and it is my duty to see that others also enjoy their rights. Lesky has rightly said that one man right is also his duty. It is my duty to respect the rights of others as well as duty to use my rights in interest of society. Duty towards the state. Since state protects and enforces rights, it also becomes the duty of all citizens to be loyal and to the state. It is their duty to obey the laws of the state and to pay taxes honestly. Citizens should always be ready to defend the state. Thus a citizen has both rights and duties. He enjoys rights and performs his duties. Rights and duties are two sides of the same coin. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Aman.
Now, I would like to call Ahan Gupta of Standard 9th to speak a few words on today's topic.
Fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties are sections of the Constitution of India that prescribe the fundamental obligations of the state to its citizens and the duties and the rights of citizens to the state. These sections comprise a constitutional bill of rights for government policy making and the behavior and conduct of citizens. These sections are considered vital elements of the Constitution, which was developed between 1947 and 1949 by the Constituent Assembly of India. Now, the fundamental rights are defined as the basic human rights of all citizens. These rights defined in Part 3 of the Constitution apply irrespective of race, place of birth, religion, caste, creed, or gender. They are enforceable by the courts subject to specific restriction. The directive principles of state policies are guidelines for the framing of laws by the government. Now, the fundamental duties are defined as the moral obligations of all citizens to help, promote, and spirit of patriotism and to uphold the unity of India. These duties set out in Part 4A of the Constitution concur individuals and the nations like the directive principles. They are not enforceable by courts unless otherwise made enforceable by parliament law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahan.
Now I would like to call Utkarsh Anand to speak few words.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. On occasion of Constitution Day, I, Utkarsh Anand of Standard 9C, going to deliver a very short speech on fundamental duties and rights are the two sides of the same coin. Duties and rights are interrelated and can't exist without one another. Rights are dues by the government towards its people, while duties are dues of the people towards the nation of government. Rights ensure safety and security of its people without any scope of its violations, while duties ensure peace and stability to a country through responsive citizens. Rights are people expectations from its government, while duties are government expectations from its people. Right of one is the duty of others. Rights can be enjoyed only in the world of duties. For every right, there is a corresponding duty. When the people fail to discharge their duties properly, the rights all become meaningless. I can enjoy my rights only if others allow me to do the same. I have right to life and it is the duty of others to respect my life and not to cause any harm to me. Rights of a citizen also implies duty for him. Rights are not monopoly of a single individual. Everybody gets this equally. This means that others also have the same rights which I have, and it is my duty to see the others also enjoy their rights. One philosopher, Arnold Lasky, has rightly said that one man's right is also his duty. It is my duty to respect the rights of others as well as the duty to use my rights in the interest of society. Rights are to be used for social good. Rights originate in a society. Therefore, while enjoying the rights, we must try to promote a social responsibility towards others. It is the duty of every one of us to use our rights for promoting the welfare of society. Duty towards the state. Since the state protects and enforces rights, it is also become duty of all citizens to be loyal to the state. With rights, we turn a nation safeguarding people needs aspiration and desired, while duty citizens tend to be responsive and preserving the holiness of the nation. Therefore, right and duties are the two sides of same coin. With this, I end my words here. Thank you and have a nice day and happy Constitution Day.
Thank you, Utkarsh.
Now, I would like to call Tejas Tanmay of Standard 9C to speak a few words.
The Constitution cannot protect us unless we protect the Constitution. With this quote, good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Tejas Tanmay of class 9C, I'm going to start my speech on the topic Fundamental Duties and Fundamental Rights are two sides of a same coin. On 15th August 1947, our country got a very struggleful independence from the British India Company. But this was not complete. We still needed some rules and regulations to govern our country. On 26th November 1949, which is I think 71 years ago. So on this date, the Constitution was completely made, and that's why we celebrate this day as the Constitution Day. But the Constitution came into existence on 26 January 1950. Now we were completely independent. So let us talk about what is Constitution. A constitution is the basic principles and laws of a nation, state, or social group, which determines the powers and duties of the government and guarantee certain rights to the citizen. Right to speech is one of the rights given to the citizens and also which is a part of right to freedom. So we have freedom to speech, but this is our duty not to misuse our right, means we cannot abuse anyone or criticize any caste or gender, etc. It is the duty of every person born in India to contribute to the development of the country and enforce the rules and laws of the country in protecting and building it. And this is the and this is my this is only the fundamental duties which do so. It teaches us about self-government, what we have to do and what not to do. So, fundamental duties are the moral values or obligations of all the citizens to promote the term patriotism and unity for the country. There are 11 fundamental duties. First, abide by the Constitution and respect the national flag and national anthem. Second, follow ideals of the freedom struggle. Third, protect sovereignty and integrity of India. Fourth, defend the country and render national services when called upon. Fifth, spirit of common brotherhood. Sixth, preserve composite culture. Seventh, preserve natural environment. Eighth, develop scientific temper. Ninth, safeguard public property. 10th, strive for excellence. And the last one, which is 11th, duty for all parents, guardians to send their children in the age of 6 to 14 years to school. And these fundamental duties are mentioned in the Constitution in Article 51A. Now let us talk about the fundamental rights. Actually, these are the rights which is given to us, the citizens, and these can't be taken from any citizen. No discrimination can happen in case of gender, caste, economy, etc. So there are 7 fundamental rights legally provided by the government. The first one is the right to equality, right to freedom. Second is right to freedom. Third is the right against exploitation. Fourth is right to freedom of religion. Fifth is cultural and educational rights. Sixth is right to property, and the last one is 7th, which is right to constitutional remedies. So these were the 7 fundamental rights which is provided by the government and mentioned in the Part 3 in the Constitution of Part 3, Article 12 to 35. We all fight for our rights, but no one cares for their fundamental duties. A country development is based on their citizens' utilization of their rights, which the Constitution gives them, and how they obey their fundamental duties. Last but not the least, I will state that no people have risen who thought only of rights. Only those did so who thought of duties. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Tejas.
Now I would like to call Pranav Kumar of Standard 9D to share his opinion on today's topic.
A very warm good morning, good evening to one and all. I, Pranav Kumar of Standard 9D, is present before you all to speak few words on Constitution Day. The National Constitution Day is also called the Samvidhan-Divas. It is celebrated in India to commemorate the adoption of Constitution Assembly. The Constitution of India became into effect on the 26th of January in the year 1950. The Government of India declared 26th November as Constitution Day on 19 November 2015 by a Gazette notification. The Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, made the declaration on 11th October 2015 while laying the foundation stone of the B.R. Ambedkar Statue of Equality Memorial in Mumbai. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, being the chairman of the Constituent Assembly, played a significant role in the drafting of the Constitution of India. Previously, it was known as Law Day. The National Constitution of India is the longest constitution ever to be written by any country in the world. It is influenced by other constitutions of other countries like the French Constitution, the Constitution of Japan, etc. National Constitution Day is celebrated to spread awareness about the ideologies of Ambedkar, one of the pioneer speakers for equality. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav.
Now, I would like to call Sampurnam to speak few words.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Sampurnam of class 9C, has got the golden opportunity to deliver a speech on the topic fundamental rights and fundamental duties are two sides of same coin. Fundamental rights and fundamental duties are two sides of a same coin. We can say this because it is well said that fundamental rights and fundamental duties are two sides of same coin. Rights that are being mindful to the constitutional touchstone and the constituents with our constitutional ideals. And duties go side by side and cannot be separated from each other. Both needs each other to be meaningful. For example, a state gives right to life to a citizen, so it is his duty that he should not expose his life to danger. And if a person fails to discharge his duties, then his rights will be meaningless. As the duty of the citizen is to use the freedom of speech and expression for welfare of the citizen, but if he uses it just for damaging the public property and to abjure the violence, then his right and he will not be called as a dutiful citizen. But if a person stops him from doing this, he will be called as a dutiful citizen. And I'm sure that being mindful of the constitutional touchstone and the constituents with our constitutional ideals, we will earn for India its rightful place in the world. As our ideals democracy, let us promise that we as a citizen of India will continuously respect the Indian Constitution, fundamental rights, duties, and our national anthem and national flag, and strive to achieve the ideals of the Constitution and realize the dreams of millions of the fellow citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Sampurna.
Now, I would like to call Aditya Amrasta of Standard 7B with his informative presentation on Constitution Day.
A warm good morning to one and all present here. I, Aditya Amrasta of Class 7, is going to give a speech on Constitution of India. A constitution is a set of rules and regulations guiding the administration of a country. The constitution is the backbone of every democratic and secular fabric of the nation. The Constitution of India is the longest constitution in the world, which describes the framework for political principles, procedures, and power of the government. The Constitution of India was written on 26 November 1949 and came into force on 26 January 1950. To commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India, 26 November is celebrated as National Constitution Day. The representatives of Indian people framed the Indian Constitution after a long period of debate and discussion. It is the most detailed constitution in the world. No other constitution has gone into such minute details as the Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India was framed by a Constituent Assembly which was established in 1946. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected President of the Constituent Assembly. A drafting committee was appointed to draft the Constitution and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was appointed as the chairman. The making of the Constitution took 166 days, which was spread over a period of 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days. The Indian teacher of the British and the Constitution were incorporated while designing the Constitution. The Constitution of India begins with preamble, which contains the basic ideals and principles of the Constitution. It lays down the objectives of the Constitution. The Indian Constitution is the lengthiest constitution of the world. It had 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedules at the time of commencement. Now it has 448 articles in 25 parts and 12 schedules. There are 104 amendments took place on 25th January 2020 to extend the reservation of seats for STs and SCs in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies that have made in the Indian Constitution so far. One of the unique features of our Constitution is that it is not as rigid as the American Constitution or as flexible as the British Constitution. It means it is partly rigid and partly flexible. Owing it to this, it can easily change and grow with changes of time. The preamble has been added later to the Constitution of India. The original constitution does not have preamble. The preamble states that India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. The objectives stated by the preamble are to secure justice, liberty, equality to all citizens, and promote fraternity to maintain unity and integrity of the nation. The power of the government are divided between the central government and the state government. The Constitution divides the power of three state organs: executive, judiciary, legislature. Hence, the Indian Constitution supports a federal system. It includes many unitary features such as a strong central power, emergency provisions, appointment of governors by the president, etc. The Indian Constitution provides an elaborate list of fundamental rights to the citizens of India. The Constitution also provides a list of 11 duties of the citizens known as the fundamental duties. Some of these duties include respect of the national flag and national anthem, integrity and unity of the country, and safeguard of public property. India is a republic, which means that a dictator or monarch does not rule the country. The government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Citizens nominate and elect its head after every 5 years. The Constitution serves as guidelines for every citizen. It helped India to attain the status of a republic in the world. Once Atal Bihari Vajpayee said that governments would come and go, political parties would be formed and dissolved, but the country should survive and democracy should remain there forever. The Constitution of India is one of the most significant building blocks for modern Indian society as it is today. Its influence is vast and far-fetched. It teaches Indians how we should live in peace and harmony as brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya.
Now I would like to call Muhammad Taha of Standard 7th B with his presentation.
Hello.
Yes, Muhammad, you can start.
Okay, is my screen visible to everyone?
Ma'am. No. No, it's not visible. Taha, try sharing it. It's not visible.
Wait.
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay.
You can start.
My name is Mohan of class 7B, and today I will try my best to explain you constitutional development through the CPT. The origin and growth of Indian Constitution have its root in Indian history during the British period. From 1773 onwards, various acts were passed by the British government for the government of India. None of them, however, satisfied the Indian aspirations, mainly because they were imposed by the alien rulers. The period of historic British constitutional experiments in India can be divided into two phases. Phase 1, constitutional experiment during the rule of East India Company 1773 to 1857. Phase 2, constitutional experiments under the British Crown 1857 to 1947. Constitutional development, East India Company Rule 1773 to 1857. Regulating Act of 1773. The process of centralization in India was initiated through the Regulating Act of 1773. This is the act passed by the British Parliament to control and regulate the affairs of East India Company in India. Rest of the information is given in the slide. If you want, you can read it. East India Act of 1784. In the constitutional history of India, this act brought in many significant changes. As per this Act of 1784, the territories of East India Company was called as British possession in India. As per this Act, a joint government of British India run by the Crown and Company was established. The government had the ultimate power and authority. A court of directors was formed for commercial operations and 6-member board of control were appointed for political affairs As per provisions of 6th India Act 1784, Governor General's Council was reduced from 4 members to 3 members. Governors' Councils were established in Bombay and Madras. Charter Act of 1813 brought an end to the monopoly of East India Company over trade with India. Trade with India was opened for all British citizens with exception of tea trade. Charter Act of 1833. Governor General of Bengal became the Governor General of India. Lord William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. East India Company ended as a mere administrative body. It was no longer a commercial body. The Governor General was given full control over revenue, civil and military. Capta Act of 1833 was the final step in the process of centralization in India, a process that began with the Regulating Act of 1773. Charter Act of 1853. Civil Service Examinations was introduced. It was a competitive examination for recruitment into civil services. Rest information is in the slide. If you like, you can read it. Constitutional development ruled under the British Crown 1857 to 1947. Government of India Act of 1858. Government of India Act of 1858 passed by British Parliament brought an end to the rule of East India Company. The power were transferred to the British Crown. The Secretary of the State for India was given the powers and duties of the former Court of Directors. He controlled the Indian administration through the Viceroy of India. Secretary of State for India was assisted by Council of India. This council had 15 members. The council was an advisory body. Governor General of India was made the Viceroy of India. Lord Canning was the first Viceroy of India. Indian Council Act of 1861. Indians were nominated as non-official members for the first time in the Legislative Council of Viceroy. Legislative councils were established in provinces and centre. Legislative powers of the provinces of Bombay and Madras were restored. Legislative councils were started in the provinces of Punjab, NWSP, Bengal. Indian Council Act of 1892. The size of the Legislative Council was increased. The Legislative Council was given more power. They had the power to deliberate on the budget and could pose questions to the executive. Indirect elections were introduced for the first time. The principle of representation was introduced as the provisions given in the Indian Council Act of 1892. Indian Councils Act 1909 Morley Mentor Reforms. Indian Council Act of 1909 is commonly known as Morley Mentor Reforms. For the first time, direct elections were introduced for the Legislative Council. If you want to know more, you can read the slide. Government of India Act 1919 Mogan to Clems Form Reform. Government of India Act 1990 was also known as Mogan to Chelmsford Reforms. Bicameralism was introduced for the first time. Provincial and central subjects were separated. Rest of the information is given. You can read. Government of India Act 1935. This was the longest and the last constitutional measure introduced by British India. It was a result of multiple round table conferences and a report by the Simon Commission. Bicameralism was introduced in 6 provinces: Bengal, Bombay, Madras, Assam, Bihar, United Provinces out of 11 provinces. The legislature in the provinces were enlarged. Cripps Mission 1942. In 1942, Cripps Mission was sent to India under the leadership of Sir Stafford Cripps. Some of the proposals given by the Cripps Mission are given below. Dominion status would be given to India after Second World War. Once the Second World War ends, an elected body would be set up in India for the forming of Indian Constitution. Even the Indian states would participate in the constitution-making body. Almost all the parties and sections in India rejected the proposal given by the Cripps Mission. Cabinet Mission 1946. Some of the main proposals of the Cabinet Mission plan was, you can read them. If I read, it will take so much time. Mountbatten Plan, Indian Independence Act 1947. British India was partitioned into India and Pakistan with effect from 15th August 1947. Conferred complete legislative authority to Constituent Assembly. established government in both provinces and states. Here are some key timelines of Constitution of Independent India. I am reading some important points only. The Constitution of India was drawn up by the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly took almost 3 years to complete the task of drafting the Constitution for Independent India, exactly 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. It is the longest written constitution in the world, containing 395 articles and 12 schedules. Thank you very much. Presented by Mohammad Taha Hussain, Class 7B.
Thank you, Taha.
Now I would like to call Shivesh of Standard 7B for his presentation. Shivesh, please come up.
Hello. Yes, Shivesh, switch on your camera.
Ma'am, I am not from presentation.
Okay, speak.
Good morning, good afternoon everyone present here. My name is Shivesh Poddar from class 7B. I am present here to speak on topic History of Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India is the supreme law of India. It frames fundamental principles, procedures, practices, rights, powers of the government. It is not created by the parliament but by an assembly and adopted by its people. India's constitution is world's longest constitution. It has approximately 1,45,000 words. Constitution of India provides us with its citizens with fundamental rights. The fundamental rights are right to freedom, right to equality, right to freedom of religion, right to constitutional remedies, right against exploitation, cultural and educational rights, and right to privacy has been added recently. After independence, a committee was formed on 29 August 1947 under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The Constitution of India was adopted on 26 November 1949, which is celebrated as Constitutional Day or Samvidhan Divas on January 26, 1950. Constitution came into effect and then India became Republic, and hence it is celebrated as Republic Day of India. The British Government of India Act of 1919 and 1935 left a significant trace on the Constitution of India 1950. The Swaraj Bill, which came 50 years before independence, and Nehru Report, which came 20 years before independence, had a similar effect on Indian constitutional rights, constitutional design. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivesh. Whatever begins has an end. So with this, we have come to an end of this program. So I would like to invite Biman sir for vote of thanks.
Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And good evening to one and all present here. I take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt thanks to all the students and teachers who have enlightened us with this speech and for fundamental rights and duties. To speak frankly, I too had forgotten some of my fundamental rights and duties. And it is really great on your part to refresh us with our fundamental rights and duties. We rarely do use the words fundamental rights and duties preamble in our daily life nowadays, leaving aside to abide with these rights and duties. As we have come to the end of the program, I convey my heartiest thanks to all the teachers who have organized the program in such a systematic way, and it was really satisfying to hear our students speaking with such confidence. My sincere thanks goes to the technical group for helping us to conduct the program without any difficulty. Finally, I thank the organizers headed by Ms. Pallavi with her assistant group to have done such a wonderful organizing work. Hope all have understood each and every rights and duties properly to enforce them in our daily life. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you everybody for being a part of this event and making it a memorable one. I hope you all had a great time. So now everyone can leave.